interested in just the youth, but he serves alongside Amy with the kids in many different areas, this time being in camp. He also serves in young adults with Casey and Emily. He just loves, this whole generation loves to pour into there, so I'm thankful for Jonathan. So, is that me? All right. Lord, you coming? Hey, first, I want to start off by saying, again, just reiterating what Jonathan said earlier during announcements. If you're a guest here, I'm the pastor. My name is Jack Thomas, and I just want to personally welcome you here and say thank you for being with us this morning. I'm excited to give a word. It's been a couple weeks since I've been in the pulpit, and they only gave me 34 minutes. So, actually 24. So, but anyway, so you're going to be late today. Not by much. Just giving you a heads up. I like to know if I'm going to be getting out a little later. We will not beat the Baptist this morning. We're going to be quite a bit late. So anyways, stop at the convenience store on the way to lunch. You're going to be hungry. Anyways, we got a lot of good stuff to go over, but I wanted to just say, last week, Amy and I left Saturday right after VBS and headed out. Most people would be really nervous on how service would go that Sunday. Most pastors, I was so confident and excited that you guys were just going to carry on just as it was every week. I just want to give a special thanks to Pastor Terry for stepping in for me and bringing the word as he does. He's just so excited every time. He's been retired for a while, and but he just loves every minute. He can't get enough of this preaching, and I just want to say thank you, Pastor Terry, for stepping in and giving me a good word. Thank you. And to the staff, to all my staff that stepped in last Sunday for me, thank you so much. I don't know how it went. I wasn't here, but I did hear feedback, and I did have some secret shoppers coming in. We just got a few things to go over in our staff meeting tomorrow, but I'm just kidding. That's not it. All right, I'm the only one laughing. Get to the message, Pastor. Anyways, we've been away from our series for a couple of weeks, so I want to just catch everybody up on kind of where we're at. We're in the book of Romans, and we're just going to kind of just take our time rolling through that. Got a couple of notes to remind me of some things, but we're in the book of Romans. We're just going to be just right out of our Bibles, just kind of working through it, preaching through it, figuring this out. The Apostle Paul is the writer on this book. And we've learned a lot about the Apostle Paul on week one, kind of his intentions, where he come from, what's going on here. Why is he writing this letter? Because he's writing it to the church in Romans. The Apostle Paul was an amazing man. He wasn't so much, though, in his past. He actually was a Jew, a very highly educated Jew, and very passionate about God. He loved God. But when this Jesus guy came around and everything that happened with Jesus, his death, crucifixion, resurrection, all the above, once that happened, he was furious. That this thing just started exploding. He went on a rampage to go around to just pretty much jail every Christian that was breaking this law, or kill them, rather. He was doing all of that. People were martyred for Christ. And Paul was at the forefront of that. He was an angry guy, and he had an encounter with Jesus that changed his life forever. So much so that he went on a journey, on 3 missionary journeys, in particular, planted churches all around Jerusalem and Southern Asia and Asia Minor, as what it would be called. And there's churches that he had planted in Corinth, and Ephesus and Philippi and many other places all around that area, passionately starting churches, excited about this whole journey of Jesus Christ, a Jew turned Christian, which was a huge deal. It was a huge deal, and it was a real big deal, and very misunderstood. But yet he went through so much persecution, traveling all over these places. So much so that he actually at one point was, in particular, writing this. He hadn't made it to Rome yet, but there was a church that was started there. Lots of other information on the hows and what's fors we could talk about later, but again, I only got an hour and a half to go over all this. So we're going to... Gotcha. Anyways, but Paul, writing to the church of Rome, he wants to send this message out because, and we learned this in chapter 1, to where he says, I may not make it to you guys. That's how serious it is out here. We're getting killed for our faith out here. This is what Paul is dealing with in writing these. And so many letters in 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, all of his epistles that he wrote in Ephesians, and all these epistles that he wrote, you see so much joy in these things. You see so many, in some cases, he's literally writing them from prison. And this one in particular, he was in Corinth. And he was writing it ahead of time saying, hey, listen, I'm going to send this to Rome. I want you guys to know what this gospel message truly is at its purest form. And I want to make sure that you guys receive some correction, because there was some maybe that needed. There was a lot of religion, a lot of legalism going on, right? Because of where they came from and their Jewish culture of the law and obeying the law to the T, or to the letter of the law, as Paul would say. But they had this idea of what it was like to follow Christ, but they were still integrating so many different things, and it took away from the freedom we get when we receive Jesus Christ. Because if we are free from things, but yet we are still bound to certain works and certain things, that I've got to go to church to be a Christian, I've got to check that box off, and I've got to tithe a certain amount, and I don't allow myself to grow in relationship with Jesus Christ, this purity that Jesus truly wants, and the whole reason he came down and died on the cross is almost counterproductive here when we get in the way by saying, I can do this. I can become a good person for Jesus. He doesn't need you to be a good person. He needs you to be, he wants to commune with you. He wants to build a relationship with you. He wants to understand you and you to understand him more than anything. And through that, because he is so powerful and his presence is so glorious, and through that, you naturally see Jesus in you, and your relationship with him is at its purest form. In chapter 1, I'm not going to go back and read a whole lot, but I do want to touch on a few things. That he starts talking about how he is a Christian now. He's unashamed. The famous Romans 1:16, where he says, I'm unashamed of the gospel. Because it was a shame that people would do that. Just think of, we see it all the time. You see these great Christian parents that raise their child up in the church. They did drugs when they were younger. They were drugged to church, right? That's the big, corny Christian joke. If you've told it, no judgment here. But, we drag them to church, and then they go wild. And what do we say? You should be ashamed of yourself. You weren't raised like that. Right? There's this ashamed of just, you weren't raised like that. Why are you acting a fool? Why are you out here? Why am I picking you up at 3 a.m. at this certain situation that you got yourself, and you know better? There's a shame. Paul says, I understand that you Jews would think of me as being shameful for completely turning my back on Judaism, or as you feel that I am. He wasn't. He was following the person who fulfilled the law. And that he did come, but he's saying, I am unashamed of me walking around as a Christian. You cannot tell me that I'm going to just cower down to these Jews and these Pharisees and these lawmakers that come in and try to tell me how to act. You're not going to tell me how to act. I'm a proud Christian. I'm going to profess my faith. I'm going to let the world know about this Jesus that changed my life. I'm unashamed of it. And he starts talking about this to the church of Rome. In chapter 1, he's saying, I want to be unashamed and unapologetic about this gospel that I'm trying to tell you about. And he's working into this. He takes 4 chapters. We're getting into this. Talks about this by starting and saying, I am a bondservant of Christ. I have devoted my life to this Christ thing. Just so y'all know, I know that in Rome, y'all see me as this Paul, some brilliant guy that taught many of your teachers how to do this. But I want you to know, just so you know, I'm professing my faith to each and every one of you, that I am unashamed of the gospel. I am in love with Jesus, and I want to tell the world. And in chapter 2, he starts going into just talking about judgment, justification. That's where this comes in, to where we justify our works. We justify our good deeds before Christ. He works through a lot of that, and he works through many different disciplines that they were working through, but he's trying to let them understand that there is freedom in Jesus Christ in itself. Chapter 3, he gets to talking about no man is righteous, no, not one. That's in verse 10 through 13. There is none righteous, no, not one. There is none who understands. There's none who seeks after God. They have all turned aside, and they have together become unprofitable. There is none who does good, no, not one. And here's what he's trying to say. There's nothing that you can do to make yourself any better before Christ. He wants you. I tell my boys all the time, there's nothing you can do to make me love you less than I love you. Nothing you can do. You cannot take that away from me. There's nothing that my boys can do. I got 3 boys, let me tell you, they're all 3 different personalities, and they're wild. And they're into everything. Pastor's kids. Look out for them. One of them may be out there slicing one of your tires or smoke cigarettes or something right now. Who knows? I don't know. Anyways. But it doesn't matter what they do, no matter what it is that they do, good or bad, that can make me love them any less. That's the same thing with Jesus. There's nothing that you can do. He made you. He took his time to completely make you and form you exactly how you are. There is time put into this. He doesn't have time, so it doesn't matter. I'm giving you a carnal illustration of this thing. But he took his time to make you and create you just in his image. He loves you. There's nothing you can do. So all these things that you're trying to do to try to act good so that daddy may be happy with you, that he doesn't want that. He said, well, you're free from that. You don't have to do these laws and these rituals to make yourself so much better. Get rid of that. There is none righteous, no, not one. Jesus Christ is the only one that walked this life perfectly, and he was God himself in the flesh. Fully man, fully God. And he's trying to lay this foundation down because he's going to talk to you a little bit about righteousness in the next 15 minutes. We can do it. We can do it. So to set this up, give you an overview so don't confuse you because we're just going to jump into something where he starts talking about Abraham. So this Abraham, Father Abraham, as we know him back in Genesis, that he was just a man of faith. And we know the story of him going up on the hill and him trying to just about sacrifice his own son. And God says, whoa, there's a ram in the bush. There is provision. I'm going to save you from this. Thank you for doing it. There's this beautiful thing. He is paraded by the Jews as the father of the Jews. He was the first one to become righteous before God. Righteousness, to be forgiven, to be in good account before the Lord. That's righteousness, right? To become righteous before the Lord is to become cleansed by God, to be saved by God. That is this righteousness that he received. And he was what the Jews would look at as the first person to start the law. To be the law, to fulfill what was needed to be righteous before God, and yet he wasn't. He wasn't, and Paul's explaining this through here. But he ended up having this covenant. God blessed him for being so faithful. He created a covenant, not exactly sure why he did it this way, but circumcision, and to where it is a symbol, men, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but it is a symbol of cutting away the flesh. And to become righteous, he blessed him and gave him this covenant of saying, you are a righteous man in chapter 15. And then in chapter 17, he told him that what the covenant would be like, what he would have to do to receive this righteousness, and the Jews would live for that. And I know you're probably confused. Let me get to reading real quick. We're going to actually start in chapter 4. We're going to read through verse 3 and try to work through it as quickly as we possibly can. Am I going too fast? There's a lot. Drinking from a fire hose. Again, if you want to catch up, take your time reading, scan that link tree. All of my study notes are in there. There's so much good stuff. I just try to get you fired up here at the beginning so you'll go and read the rest of 4 and see what I'm saying? Because we're not going to make it nowhere near the end of it. I have highlighted all the way through 20 on what to preach, and I guarantee we won't make it to 10. For what then shall we say? Abraham our father has through 20 on what to preach, and Abraham our father has found according to the flesh. Something was accounted to him for righteousness. Abraham believed God is what he's trying to say. Let me just pause real quick and give you kind of this. Let me help you bridge this over, because I can see the glaze over some of y'all's eyes of thinking, I don't understand. We just went from righteousness to this, and Paul, and he's killed people, and weird jokes. I don't know where to go. So this is where we're at. In this chapter 3, what we went 2 and 3 a couple weeks ago. In chapter 3, he's talking about this righteousness, this self-righteousness that these Jews were walking around of. I am just so much better because I follow the law. I eat kosher. I do all these things. And he's saying, I don't care what you do, you're not righteous. And he's proving this to be factual through their own study, the Torah, what they go off of, the law. And the Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible, and it talks about the law as Moses received it. But he's saying, I know y'all almost worship Abraham as the father of the Jews, but I'm telling you, even he become righteous before this ritual. Because what would happen is because I'm a Jew, all I need to do is become circumcised, and I'm righteous before the Lord. Well, if being saved through Jesus Christ and faith in him only is a thing, then why do I have to do a work by doing something physical in the flesh to receive this righteousness. He's saying, oh, absolutely not. Abraham received this righteousness before this act. This faith that he's trying to get, this relationship that he wants from you, this understanding that he is God, is something that doesn't require a physical work. You don't have to come to church, have to take notes, you have to do all these perfect things for you to become righteous and before God. You don't have to do all this. There is this leave this physical thing. He wants your heart, and from there on, that's what changes the world. When you allow Jesus to consume you, when you allow his presence, when you allow the faith of knowing that he died on the cross for you and that the God of the church have to take notes in him and understanding in him. Because in him and understanding in him. Because how is that going to get you any closer to God? How is that going to get you any closer to God? How are those things? Because is it the physical thing that gets you the blessing? Or is it this genuine love? Amy, I thought about this the other day on our way home. She was just complaining. You know how women get when they complain about their body. The body's changing. We're getting older. It's harder to lose weight when you get kind of closer to that 40 mark. I think I'm having a great time. I'm doing great. Best shape of my life, bro. Anyways, she's complaining about things, and I was thankful to the Lord. I was like, you know what? One of my dreams as a boy was to have kids. I grew up, many of y'all know my story. I won't get too deep into it, but I just know that I grew up in just an awful childhood. It was so bad. I had 3 brothers and sisters. Grew up, just crack house. Mom was never there. Dad was never there. At one point in my life, every parent that I had, mom, dad, stepmom, everybody in prison, had nobody. And I knew that through my whole life growing up, that at some point, dad was never there. At one point in my life, every parent that I had, mom, dad, stepmom, everybody in prison, had nobody. And I knew that through my whole life growing up, that